Oh, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? It's the best day of the week after Monday. That's right, it's Thursday, January 10th, 2013, and this is Day 9 Daily number 540, where we learn to be a better gamer. Believe it or not, my favorite number is 548 and 9. So I'm very excited to be 8 episodes away from what could be a potentially ordinary daily. Great. Cool, fantastic. In today's daily, we're going to explore the brand new Reaper. So brand new that it hasn't even been out for 31 hours, he said arbitrarily. It's been about a day that the new Reaper has been in town. So what I did is I put out the public request for you to submit games of you playing with the new Reaper and requested that you put them up on day9.tv. So if you actually look, let me actually journey with me to day9.tv. This is my website. For any of you wondering, daily number 540, you can just search it up in the archives that's up there, or you can just click on the show notes, and any of the replays that we look at today will be down here in the comments. Just so that way, if you're looking for them, see, here they are, 111 in TVP, here's some other things, and of course we can just sort of zoom along. Also, you can tell that I'm using Twitch TV. I read Team Liquid, and I really love word games. It's a very information-dense browser we're looking at. However, in terms of the topic that we're specifically going to be focusing on today, with every new unit comes potentially new openings. Sure, we'll talk about what the Reaper is going to do, but more importantly, we're going to look at what is going on with our buildings back home and how that sort of provides for or takes away from the strategies of old. We get to see some new strats too. Oh crap, there was one other thing I wanted to say about this. Oh yes, in case you didn't know what the Reaper changes are, they are the following. Reapers now do not require a tech lab. So you can just build them out of an ordinary barracks, and as we'll see, you can build them out of reactor barracks, 2 at a time. Reapers also, excuse me, Reapers also cannot see up cliffs anymore. They're back to the standard Wings of Liberty Reaper vision. Also, Reapers do significantly less damage. Rather than doing 4 plus 5 to light, they just do 4. Keep in mind, though, Reapers do have the 2 shots, so technically it's 8 damage. And third, and perhaps most significant of all, they start off with the Nitro pack done. In other words, they upped the speed of the Reaper and removed the Nitro pack. So you have these really fast. Oh god, I'm so sorry. So sorry, my sleeves are... There we go. So basically we have these not big on damage, but really fast, really easy to get Reapers. And we wanted to see how it panned out. I put no restriction on the call to action for this at all. I just said submit to me a game. So we're going to look at some Terran vs. Zerg, some Terran vs. Protoss, and Terran vs. Terran. There was no restriction on the skill level either. We're going to see somewhat of a range. No one who submitted, at least I don't think, is a super seasoned pro. However, one of the most important lessons you will ever hear when it comes to learning and picking up new things. There is no such thing as being too bad at a game to have good ideas or to give useful thoughts. I've been doing the daily for, holy shit, almost 3.5 years. Whoa. Whew. Whew. I've been doing the daily forever. And all the what I've encountered time and time again is that people who consider themselves to be very bad at the game, or perhaps rank poorly in the game, still have incredibly good thoughts. So we're even going to get some excellent thoughts out of these wonderful players, the kind folks from the Day 9 Daily crew who submitted. Yeah. Anything else noteworthy? Fun Day Mondays on Monday. Submit your damn Fun Day Monday replays. Also, tomorrow, I'm going to be getting up at around 6:30 a.m. because I'm casting the Iron Squid. Round of 16. Those matches will be going on all day Friday. So those matches are as follows. That is tomorrow. It will be Marine King Prime versus Hero, Violet versus MC, MVP versus Gosu User, and Life versus Lenok. So they're good. And then on Sunday, I'll be casting the round of 8, which will be, as you might imagine, the winners of those games. Is there anything else? No. No, there is not. Thrilling. Let's talk about the Reaper. Le Reaper. The Reaper is a really sweet unit. And I think I like the Reaper now more than I ever has before. More than I ever has. Since learning the English language, never has I loved it as much as now. Oh, I forgot to mention, if you want to know the Fun Day Monday topic, it's Heart of the Swarm units only. Go to day9.tv for the exact rules and how to submit and all that good jazz. I like the Reaper right now because it's super fast, really fun to micro with. You can catch your opponent ultra crazy off guard. It still heals when it's out of battle, and we're going to see the usefulness of that. But most suavely, we don't need an add-on. So we're going to see a number of ways where players are exploiting this. Let me go ahead and begin with... do I want to begin with this one? Aha! Yes. Yes! We're going to begin with... we're going to begin with a game that I think is an example of some of the interesting transitions that can come up, and is also a really good basic showcase of the Terran vs. Protoss Reaper. So this is on the map that I like to call the Diablo 3 map, because it looks exactly like Diablo 3 tile sets with all these cool runic sigils everywhere. Oh, rad. This is a pretty straightforward game between a fellow named El Jaron, or El Haron. I don't know how to say it, but I'm going to say it the way I would if I used the Hooks on Phonic program. El Jaron. Going for the barracks refinery sort of play. I'm just going to say right off the bat, Canopus, who took the word canopy and turned it into the name of an ancient historian. Canopus is going to be doing basically what we saw White Raw do in the PvT special. He's going to be going for really fast proxy Stargate plus some gateway tech. So we now know that Cannabis, he's going to be going for that good old standard-fashioned proxy play. Whereas El Haron is going to be going for this Reaperness. I'm actually going to pull back a little bit, because I figure rather than talk about Canopus too much, we're going to be talking a little bit about what's going on in the base of the Terran. Normally, this is when you would be going for the Tech Lab to get the Reaper. However, we're noticing a slight dead period. In fact, you have to go 12 barracks, 12 refinery to have that 50 gas available then. However, we're just seeing our Terran buddy start right off the bat just building this Reaper. And when it's out, I'm going to slow it down to the regular speed just so you can actually see how stupidly fast these things are. I mean, this thing like makes a Mutalisk look like a frickin' ancient thing that moves slowly, Sean said funnily. And what I really like about what we're seeing the Terran player do is that, again, we think in terms of resources. The gas is largely being spent on the Reaper. And the minerals we are spending on getting more barracks. And we actually need hardly any minerals to keep up the Reaper production, not only because 50 is not a lot of minerals, but also because 45 seconds is a long time. So, what is the Protoss player doing? I think this is a very reasonable play. He has seen his opponent delay Marine production, so it's probably a Reaper, so he has his Stalkers set up here, and is getting ready to build this proxy Stargate down in the bottom corner. So I think that our Protoss buddy is playing quite reasonably. Not a lot of action begins at the start of the game. Just mass Reaper, building all the Reapers, Reaper, Stargate. I actually want to step it up just a little bit. Look at this, all this spread outing, getting some extra gateways, again, to reinforce this proxy Stargate. But already, even with a small amount of Reapers, I really like the way that this all ends up looking. No bonus damage, no nothing. Really straightforward micro. Super straightforward micro. Completely containing this Protoss player. Actually, if Protoss went for an early expand, would still be having a lot of issues with this sort of thing. Turns on the cannon nexus. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of suiciding to kill probes if my opponent's on one base. I'm never really crazy about that. And even some misclick firing. And yet still, we have this player who has enough to expand. This could have gone down a lot earlier. Terran is not playing super optimally in terms of the economy. But what I love so much is that with all this gas banked from the early double refinery, and all the barracks already produced, we have a super, super quick transition into building a lot of Marines. If our opponent ever decides to move out, we have a simple counterattack. So even though this damage is really low, it just does a straight 4 damage, every opportunity we have is kick-ass. This is really going to make for some super, super, super pulled back stuff from the enemy. So meanwhile, while the Terran has won in the main base, even this relatively slow command center and relatively slow adding onto the reactors is more than enough to frickin' demolish a big cheesy all-in play. Now, if our opponent didn't elect to go all-in, and instead elected to do some sort of more standard, normal play, we still are getting up a lot of barracks. We're still getting up a reasonably early expand, not ultra fast, but reasonably early. The one thing that we're going to sacrifice is that we won't have medevacs out quite as early. However, Reapers just feel rad, so I'm more than happy with that. What I wanted to talk a little bit about was the idea of good and bad transitions right now. That was a just straightforward, easy as pie, good old game. We're now going to look at one where we see something slightly different, a new take on the opening from Gruff Czar. So we're going to see the same basic idea, mass Reaper pressure, but we're going to see a different opening from Gruff Czar. God, it never occurred to me that that name is unbelievable. Gruff Czar? Are you kidding me? Yes! Oh, that's so awesome. So Gruff Czar is actually going to be opening up getting a reactor on this barracks. So that way he can build Reapers 2 at a time. This early second barracks will cut into our ability to get an early orbital command. This is a build that I would describe as bumpy, but still showcases some interesting concepts. With 2 early reactors up, and a slightly delayed second gas, we can actually produce Reapers 4 at a time. Not the most optimal economy because we end up getting a little bit behind, but still, we wind up at the 4 at a time production fairly early. This I like a little better for the money side. If we have double reactor, we're basically spending 50 gas to be able to produce 2 extra Reapers at a time, rather than building 2 extra barracks to build 2 Reapers at a time. So with that saved money, we're getting a much, much, much earlier orbital command. Another hidden tech, because who doesn't love going for the ultra-fast Dark Templar? This wall-in is not a wall-in. This actually doesn't protect anything. Like, seriously, you could march an Ultralisk right through there, probably. However, I missed something totally useful, and instead made a great, good old non-Ultralisk-proof wall-off. But, per usual, players like to move out with their early Stalker to secure stuff. But suddenly, moving out with early units is a lot like moving out against a Zerg player who has Mutalisks. You run the risk of being sniped. Suddenly, the Protoss player does not have as much freedom to move out into the middle of the map. Unless, for instance, he goes Zealot Stalker and attacks the enemy. Then, actually, Terran is in a little teensy bit of trouble. But not too much, because, again, they heal. Now, ignoring everything that's actually going to be going on up here, this is some standard micro. It takes a lot longer to kill things, but that's fine because our dudes heal. Meanwhile, back in the main base, Gruff Czar is doing this kind of sweet double command center. I want you to envision for a moment lifting both of these barracks, building 2 factories, and then going for double, or for going 4 at a time Widow Mine production to be able to protect these 2 bases. Or going for, hell, even just lifting these and building 2 Tech Lab add-ons, and then rebuilding the barracks here. So that way you can get stim in combat and then begin Marine production. Pretty much everyone in these videos, or in the replays that we're going to look at today, went a little overboard with their Reapering at the start. Like, this is not necessary. But, this is the example, I would say, of someone who's realizing how strong something is without considering how to get out of it. Like, back home, I mean, getting more factories, getting more barracks. Gruffzar actually winds up in this bad position where the opponent actually just morphs in some DTs and then almost wins the entire game. For the lulz, I'm going to show you this. For the lulz. The point of me showing you this game was not to show the death of all of everything from Gruffzar and the excellent base trading antics and the desperation move around. Oh my god, everyone's being revealed. This was not to show this. The reason I wanted to show this game is that this is a really good starting framework for a build. And this is the way most starts of builds work. And as we continue on, we're starting to lose focus on how we wanted to use these reactors later on. It's great to go for a double reactor quickly to get this pressure out, as we clearly see it's doing good. But we want to get out. Otherwise, we're going to wind up like this. And because I know you miss Fun Day Monday, don't worry. We're going to show the compelling tale of Gruffzar with his orbital command scooting every which way like that lazy person at the grocery store who gets one of those auto carts to drive him around the grocery store. That's always what I think of when I see a lifted orbital command. Quickly, construct the Reaper! That's right, if we're building Reapers, we may as well just not stop building Reapers. Come on. Come on. Come on. And now, as Gruffzar is playing musical command centers... Oh no! I can't land here! You have a base there! Gruffzar winds up scanning his own Reapers just to make sure he's not messing up, and eventually eliminates his opponent in one of the most compelling games of StarCraft yet known. Woo! Oh my god. Now, fortunately, I have another game that I actually get to show you, where we're going to see an example of the same opening retuned by none other than Gruffzar. Gruffzar engaged in an act that we call learning. Again, it's so easy to look at a game like that and be like, that guy, he was so bad. He is sub-Wood League. Oh my gosh, I know a penguin with cerebral palsy that can play StarCraft better than he can. I know that is something you thought. However, there's still a lot of merit in what we saw for a future adjustment. And I like the fact that we get to show one player using the same concepts there and readjusting for it. Moving on. Gruffzar, again, re-optimizing this economy a little bit. Going for the slightly earlier gas, the slightly earlier second barracks. This is what we call refinement, right? Doing the exact same thing that he did before, but significantly better. Weirdly, delaying the orbital command. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because we don't really need minerals. And that's one thing that I really liked about these games especially. And then we see Gruffzar, once he finishes this depot, is going to be building them Reapers 2 at a time. Reaper. This is very, very early to have quad Reaper production by 4:30. Basically, we're going to get 6 Reapers up by 6 minutes, which is a very, very early time. This is generally a little before Protosses will have Warp Gate done. Finding things up, taking them down. So obviously these Reapers are going to be used for harassment. See, look at that, right before 6 minutes. How cool. How great. Muling away, building some supply depots. This Protoss player went for Nexus first. Nexus into Gateway. And we're seeing Gruffzar do fantastic. Also, apparently Gruffzar is in the chat. Hello, Gruffzar. Welcome. Thank you for submitting these games. I found them excellent. So certainly, I think it's fine to say, as my read, I'm seeing my opponent is getting an early expand, so I'm going to build a few more Reapers. Here is the early command center as well. But we don't want to fall into that trap of getting a little bit too hooked on going for Mass Reaper. As we see, certainly we can like barrel down the front, but once this warp gate ends up finishing up, Gruffzar is going to want to transition out. Going for the second command center, I think is fine. Going for this engineering bay, I think is cool too. Speeding it along, and come on, yeah! So this is something that I found to be totally rad. There's more micro action going on as the Protoss player is desperately trying to keep his Nexus alive. I think that we are going to see players not go for Nexus first. But again, I like this transition because this is thinking long term. I open up with the double reactor because I really want lots of Reapers early. But we can't think about our strategies in the short term. We have to think about it over the course of an entire game. So, Gruffzar pulls back to doing double factory. I actually like double Widow Mine. Gruffzar goes for the double Hellion, and then goes for double Marauder, getting those upgrades up. And gets just a really solid unit mixture against a Protoss. And sure, Protoss, anytime he moves out, we can counterattack. That's what some of you saw the little blue dots moving there on the minimap. So yeah. Building all the battle mode Hellions, and of course we get into an engagement, and with Stim, Concussive Shell, and the Hellbats at the front line, easy peasy, no GGZ. Oh! Yeah, rocking hair today. So in this first part, we got the chance to see a total of two... Screw it, let me try it again. It's fine, it's live, I'll just try again. In the first game, we got the chance to see what I think is going to be a really standard way to open Reaper and to transition out of it. Overbuild barracks without add-ons, and then suddenly slam out all the add-ons and just go into mass Marine Marauder production. You think of what do a lot of Terran players look like on two bases? Well, they will have 5 barracks, 1 starport producing medevac, and a 3rd command center heading to the 3rd. That's the general look. So the way most people do it is they go expand, 3 racks, starport, 2 racks. That's how they wind up with the 5 barracks. But here we're seeing, in that first game, a possibility for a player to go for 5 racks. And then, for the starport, 5 racks, and then command center, and then command center, and then teching all the way up. So it's a sort of way of readjusting everything. And then we saw 2 games of Gruffzar starting with the same concept. A double reactor Reaper opening, and we saw a bad transition out of it and a good transition out of it over the 2 games. And I think what was really miraculous is the amount of refinement that went on from Gruffzar's first attempt to this attempt. This was not, it wasn't like game 1, game 2. They weren't that close together. But yeah, after we come back from the break, which is going to be about 2 minutes long, we're going to look at some Terran versus Zerg games that I think will showcase some more really interesting ways to use the Reaper as a transitionary tool. Again, we're going to look at a weaker example and then an excellent example. Coming back in 2 minutes.